Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am finally sitting down to play with some new makeup launches that I just got my hands on. The first being the Charlotte Tilbury face palettes. So these are the beautifying face palettes. I got both colors. My shipping was absolutely ridiculous. So I will talk about customer experience, and then I also did get my Pat McGrath Quints. So these are the 5-pan palettes from her holiday collection. So I thought we could play around with both of these products. I didn't think at this point a dedicated on just one release was honestly worth it, just because, you know, the shipping qualms. So we're just gonna be playing around with these products. I'm gonna be doing an eye look with both palettes and then applying the face palettes and hopefully look somewhat decent in the end of this video. But as always, I will link the products down below, as well as all the other makeup that I do end up wearing in today's video. If you enjoy these first impression videos, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you would like to subscribe, I would love to have you. I do a ton of makeup content, and I think that's all I have to say. Let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so I'm gonna start out with the eyeshadow palettes. We're going to talk about them, swatch them, do the demo, and then we'll jump into the face palettes once I get the rest of my makeup on. So these are the new Pat McGrath Labs Holiday 2022 Celestial Nirvana eyeshadow palettes, or Quints. So these have 5 shades in them. I've never seen her do this that I can recall, and these retail for $36 each, or you can get a duo, which is what I did, and I believe that was $65. I also did use a code. You can typically find a code for 10% off, so I will leave it down below if you want to add that as well. So this is the box packaging that these come in. Now here's the thing, these are very small. The actual packaging doesn't look as small as I thought, but you really don't get a lot of product. So you get a total of 4 grams, a net weight of 0.14 ounces. I don't mind it solely because I have a huge collection, but I did want to note that you're not getting a lot of product and it is pricey. I mean, it is Pat McGrath, so that's something to note, but I am pleasantly surprised with the size of them in person. I also purchased a while back the Pat McGrath for holiday. It was like really horrible actually, in a almost like a plastic acrylic packaging, and it just looked really cheap and I just didn't like the layout. Now these actually, I believe, have less product than that did, which shocks me, but I like the presentation of this better. These palettes are made in Italy. They have a 12-month shelf life, and we do have 2 different colors. We have Nude Allure, and then we also have Bronze Bliss. So I wanna go ahead and open these up. Let's start off with Nude Allure. So here is the outside of the palette. It looks just like the box. It doesn't feel heavy, but it also doesn't feel like super cheap. It's kind of just right in the middle. And then inside you do have the 5 shades. You have a mirror as well. One thing I would have liked to see would have been 2 mattes. I feel like a lot of people were saying that, and I agree. Just a deep matte and then a lighter matte to sort of blend. But you do have 4 shimmer shades and then a matte. And I feel like just looking at this, this looks like a new formula, not like the typical Pat formula. So I just swatched the 4 shimmers in here. I don't know if I felt a formula like this from Pat. They're very soft and they almost, I don't want to say crumble, but when you dip in, you really don't have to dip in, you know, with a lot of pressure, because they just have this like almost soft velvet feel, but they do swatch really nicely. I want to go in and swatch the matte. Okay, the matte feels pretty softly pressed too. So mattes never swatch as good, but I mean, this looks really beautiful. I'm swatching on the palm of my hand because I have self-tanner on my hands. So these are the swatches for Nude Allure. Moving on to the next palette, which is Bronze Bliss. Same packaging, but a deeper pink. So they look very similar, but just minor differences. And then this one looks much more smoky, and it looks more sparkly to me as well. So again, I would have liked to see 2 mattes. You have a really deep sort of like charcoal black, and then you have all of these, you know, metallics. From what I've seen, this is like crazy, crazy high shine. Okay, so I swatched the 4 shimmer shades. This one in the middle is straight like liquid metallic, and it feels almost like a cream. Holy moly, that one right there. Wow. It reminds me of a shimmer that was in a Jouer palette long ago. Wow. And that one did feel different. It felt almost like a cream, like you barely touch it and it is like foiled. Okay, then here is the deep shade. Now this swatches and felt more dry to me, just feeling it, than the first palette. Wow though, look how gorgeous these colors are. Like I would have loved this with one lighter shade just to sort of use in the crease, blend the edges, but we're gonna do our best. I wanna zoom in and try to do a look. I have to say though, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the first palette I would wear more, but these colors are really beautiful. Okay, so I zoomed you in and I'm gonna start off with Bronze Bliss on this eye. So I'm gonna go in and start with that deep charcoal color because that's the only matte in the palette. This is quite powdery. So just keep that in mind. And I did not set the lower portion of my lid. So I'm just gonna apply it like a halo. I know I've been doing a lot of halo eyes, but I do feel like, especially only having one matte, I just think this is gonna be probably just the most doable for my eye shape. So I'm just using another brush to blend the edges. So this is not black. Like I thought it was straight black, but it's almost like a charcoal. So I was going to do one eye completely and then do the other, but I think I'm just going to bounce back and forth, and that way I have something that looks cohesive. So I'm going into the Nude Allure palette and I'm gonna use this deep matte, and I'm just gonna do the same thing that I did on this eye. The mattes really are pretty powdery in the pan. This one felt a little more creamy to me, so curious to see if I notice a difference blending. Okay, so interestingly enough, I'm struggling a little bit more to blend out this side. Pretty much tells me that swatches really aren't everything, because this swatched better and it felt better. I feel like it's grabbing a little bit, so just having to work to really try to blend this and make it seamless. Okay, so now that I have a base down, I wanna go into some of these shimmers. I will say that the mattes, I felt like maybe were a little hard to blend, and I almost wonder if it's because I'm used to blending them into a transition shade or using a transition shade to soften the edges, and I don't have that. So I feel like I want a lighter shade to really soften, and I struggle getting this blended without that. So just keep that in mind. So I'm thinking for this, I want to go in maybe to this shade right here, and I'm just gonna use my finger. These feel very creamy. Definitely gonna have fallout with this, but. And then going into Nude Allure, I'm gonna go into this purple shade right here. This palette is not as intense in terms of the sparkle or shine, which could just be a preference, but it is something that I noticed. And then I am just going to go back in with the brushes that I used for the mattes and just sort of soften the edges. To be honest, I don't really like shimmers on the outer corner of my eye. Something about my eye shape, I struggle with getting it blended, so it's not my favorite, but I feel like I'm gonna try to use as many shimmers as possible. Going back into Bronze Bliss, I wanna go in with the Crazy Metallic shade. This one feels wet, like you barely touch it, and it is, wow. Insane. So I'm just gonna lay it down and then go in and go around the edges. I mean, a little goes a long way with that shade. So I just wiped that off. I did not like that. I don't know if I'm the only one that would struggle, but typically if I was gonna use this, I would just use other shadows in my collection, but I'm trying to demo them alone. So I'm going to completely start over. I'm going to start off, let me see, with this shade right here, and I'm gonna try a completely different look and technique. So I'm just gonna apply this, and I wanna sort of make it softer. And then I'm gonna go into this deeper bronzy shade and apply this on the outer portion. These really do feel like creams. And I think they're beautiful. It's just, I'm looking for more mattes to, I don't know, I just feel like that's what I reach for. Okay, I'm gonna go in to the really shimmery silver, but I'm going to use like the lightest touch. Like I'm telling you, dip your finger in and that is it. Because it overtook that look. I mean, this even. I barely touched it. I mean, it's crazy, crazy foiled and pigmented. So I'm just sort of like trying to soften it in with that other shade. All right, and then now I am going to dip into the matte shade, and I do want to add some sort of like depth on the outer corner here. So I'm going to leave this eye there for now, and I want to go back into the Nude Allure. So I'm trying to figure out where I want to go. I think I want to use this shade right here on the center of the lid. And I am just taking the brush with the leftover matte, and I'm just trying to blend these edges. It's like bothering me how this doesn't feel blended. I'm just reinforcing that middle shade after I blend it around it. Okay, so I think I'm gonna leave my eyes there for now. I'm gonna do liner and lashes, the rest of my makeup. Hopefully it will come together. I did struggle a little bit, which kind of shocked me, but you know what? I decided to keep it in this video. So let me finish everything off and then we will finish the eyes and then get into the Charlotte Tilbury. Okay, so I went ahead and put on the rest of my makeup other than the Charlotte Tilbury palettes, but I wanna finish off the eyes. So I'm gonna go into the Bronze Bliss and I'm just gonna use the deep matte shade on the lower lash line. I'm getting some fallout. Okay, there's quite a bit of fallout. Okay, and then going into the Nude Allure, I'm gonna use the matte shade on this side. So I'm gonna try to do like a stamping motion. Okay, and on this side, I'm gonna go in with my Nabla liner in black. And then I'm gonna kind of smudge that just a little bit. And on this side, I'm gonna use the shade number 2, which is like a brown. And then I'm just gonna smoke underneath both shades. Okay, and then to finish off the eyes, I'm gonna go into Bronze Bliss and use the last shade that I haven't tried yet, which is this one down here. I'm just gonna use this on my inner corner, just because I really do wanna try to use every shade. So I wipe my brush off quickly and I'm gonna go into the Nude Allure into this light pink and do the same thing. I didn't use this shade on this eye. I just don't want to go too crazy because I feel like I already am using a lot of shimmers. That is pretty. Okay, I really, really like that. On this side, I feel like it's overkill just because we have so much going on shimmer-wise, but on this side, I feel like it really does add like a pop. Okay, so I had to throw my hair up and I actually redid my brows. I don't know what's going on, but my brows were looking just horrible. So I actually wiped it off, put my foundation back on, and then did my brows. And I ended up doing more of like a lifted tail. They look a little bit exaggerated, but you know, today I'm just struggling. Sometimes that's just the way it is. So I want to move on to the Charlotte Tilbury. So these are the 2 new palettes. They're the Pillow Talk Beautifying Face palettes. And there are 2 different colors. So we have the deeper version and the lighter version. So I purchased both. These are $75 each, which is expensive. I mean, it's Charlotte. And I will say that the shipping experience from Charlotte's website was not good. I ordered these the day they launched with next day air shipping. They didn't ship for 2 days, which I was like, okay, understandable. So I ordered it Wednesday, it shipped on Friday, it said it was coming on Monday. So I was like, wow, you know, I did the next day air option, but I'm still getting it, you know, 5 days late. That's okay. Monday rolls around, I check the tracking thinking it's gonna be out for delivery, and it's not even shipped. So I call. They say they're gonna look into it. They tell me to call them back if I don't get it by Tuesday. So I call back, it hasn't even moved yet again. They say, oh, okay, now we have to contact UPS. And then once we get an answer, then we can dispatch you another you know, set. So now we're at Wednesday, nothing's happened. I call again and they're like, please give us 5 business days until it's not delivered. And I'm like, well, hasn't it been Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? I was just like at a loss at that point. So I kind of honestly was like, I'm over it. I'm over it. Like, I'm just not going to stress about it anymore. And then what do you know? These showed up on Friday night. So the experience was not good. And the issue for me is that I paid for next day air and I expected to get them in a timely manner. And they didn't even actually start moving with UPS for like a week after. So not my favorite experience, pretty disappointed. And actually I posted about these being available at Sephora on my community tab and a lot of you had the same shipping experience. So it's just frustrating to, you know, just not have any answers. It is what it is. Don't know if I'm gonna order off her website next time. So let's just get into the palettes. So there's 2 different colors, as I said. I have not touched these at all. So let me look first into the medium pale. Is that what it says? Oh, fair medium. Sorry, my fault. So this is the outer packaging. I think it's really pretty. I mean, it's definitely Charlotte Tilbury-esque. And then in these palettes, you get 4 different powders. So you get a pinky sort of highlighter blush topper and a pink blush. And then you get a gold highlighter and then a neutral blush. Okay, so I like formulas like this, which are like the baked gelée type formulas. The highlighters feel a little dry, but let's see how these swatch. So here are the swatches of the fair to medium. I feel like this is gonna be a buildable formula. This blush, the pink blush, did show up quite well. We'll have to see how they apply on the face. It's probably gonna be something similar to the NARS palette I just reviewed that is sort of that like baked gelée texture, the blush palette, and you really have to dig in there. So now I wanna look at the medium deep. So this one, I feel like is still gonna work for me. This is the outer packaging, same as the other one. And then in this one, same situation, but you have more of like a red blush with like an orangey topper, and then more of a pinky light highlighter with a coral blush. So I wanna swatch these and compare. Okay, so here are the swatches in the deeper palette. So this is definitely the warmer of the 2. Leaning more like coral red, whereas the lighter one is more like pink neutral. So what I'm gonna do is the deeper one, this is kind of hard because I feel like I already have 2 different eye looks on. I'm gonna do the deeper one on the side with the more like purple neutral eye, and then I'm gonna do the lighter one on this side. I don't wanna do too much color on the side with like the really silver sort of gunmetal look. Okay, so I'm gonna start out with the fair to light side, and to start, I'm gonna go in with the more neutral blush, and I'm curious how I'll feel about this, just because I really am more of a punchy blush type of gal. So I'm really going in, like I'm taking my brush and going in quite heavily because yeah, this is like that formula from NARS, which I don't mind. It's just something you kind of have to get used to because I feel like typically, you know, you tap into a blush and tap off. And this, you just kind of like really push your brush in. I mean, it's definitely neutral, but I think it's really pretty. So this is the first blush. Now, of course, you know, I can't wait to get into the pink. So I'm gonna go into the pink blush next. I'm assuming this one is going to be more pigmented just because it is brighter. And I am going to go heavy, even though I have a lot on my eyes, because I want you to see the colors. And I do feel like these have a slight glow to them. Very similar again to the NARS. So there is the blush. I feel like I can go honestly even heavier, but I'm trying to not look too wild, even though I feel like we're already there, you know? So there are the 2 blushes. I think it's gorgeous. Okay, so now that I have the blush applied, I wanna jump into the lighter highlighter here. I wanna see what this is like because to be honest, it swatched a little dry. Okay, so this is pretty subtle, which I don't mind. I feel like I'm not as into a crazy highlighter. I'm gonna build this up, but it's pretty, but it's more subtle than I had anticipated. I wanna go in next with the pink highlighter. I'm gonna use this, I think with the blush brush. Yeah, blush brush. That's a tongue twister. And I'm just gonna load it up and apply this almost like a blush topper highlighter hybrid. Okay, now I like that. I think that gave a nice glow. You guys can tell me what you think, but this is the side with the fair to medium. It's really pretty. It's just a little more subtle than I thought, especially the highlighter. So I want to go in on this side. I hope I don't look too crazy with the medium to deep. Okay, similar scenario. I'm going to start off with the more neutral, or not neutral, lighter blush in here. And I'm assuming, you know, a lighter hand will do just because this is deeper in tone. So I'm really building this up. Okay, so here is the first blush on the deeper palette. I want to go in next with the deeper blush. This one, I have a feeling, is going to really punch this up. Okay, so I'm starting to see, like on this side, it's more of like a burnt, warm color, whereas on this side it was more of just like a nice pink flush. Okay, so I'm going to try to use this shade as a highlighter. I don't know if it'll be a little bit deep for me. Okay, I feel like that highlighter works on me. It's a little bit deep. It has like a peachy undertone, but I feel like it's doable. I want to go in and finish off with this shade right here. Try to use this as like a blush topper highlight, something like that. Okay, so here is the Charlotte Tilbury fair to medium, and then on this side we have the medium to deep. I don't see a huge difference other than you have to do more building on the fair to medium, and this one leans more pink, whereas the medium to deep, it's less building, but it's more peachy, burnt red. I don't know which one I like. I feel like the eyes are throwing me off. I'm more honestly attracted to the pink side. You guys will have to let me know if you see a huge difference down below, but I'm going to gather my thoughts, get my desk cleaned off a little bit, and then I want to go through and just give you my initial first impression on the Pat McGrath palettes and the Charlotte Tilbury. Okay guys, so this is the look I came up with using these new launches from Pat McGrath and Charlotte Tilbury. So let's start off with Pat McGrath and let's talk about these palettes. I'm going to start off with the Nude Allure. So this one is definitely more subdued than the Bronze Bliss. The Bronze Bliss has an incredible silver metallic, and overall the metallics in the Bronze Bliss are just more metallic, whereas this one is more of a soft metallic, which I think is beautiful for every day. I would probably use this color story more. Again, I'm going to reiterate that my qualm with these palettes is that I would have liked to have one more matte. I feel like if these would have been 6 pans and there was a lighter matte and then a deeper matte, I would have been over the moon with these. I also had a little bit of issues blending the matte, so I'm not sure why, but I feel like maybe because I was relying so heavily on just one matte, it was really hard for me to blend the edges where I typically would take a lighter shade or a transition shade per se. I do want to note that I also in this video tried to use as many shades as possible. I think I only used 4 out of this one, and the other one I used all 5, but on a day-to-day basis, honest to God, I would just use this and then I would use like 1 on the lid. So I could see this being useful if you're somebody that wants a small palette to take with you that has the colors that you like. I just would have liked to see one more matte in here, and I am kind of shocked that she didn't include another matte. I think that she was aiming for, you know, holiday time, glitz and glamour and shimmer, and this will give you that. But for me, I will be reaching into other palettes to grab other matte shades. Doesn't bother me, but I'm just saying if this is something you're gonna spend 36 bucks on and you're thinking, you know, this is gonna be the end all be all, just know that you have one matte to work with. And then the other one, again, same thing. I think because the matte is just so deep, it's really hard to create a look, at least for me, without adding in something else. This shade is really strange because it looks quite dark, but it does blend out almost to like a gray charcoal. I will say the shimmers are absolutely beautiful. And I wish that the nude palette would have been just as impactful as this palette because wow, the shimmers are just absolutely stunning. I mean, these are really just like foiled shades. So it's a matter of, do you wear a lot of foiled shades, a lot of shimmers, a lot of neutrals, and then do you like more berry tones or do you like more of that silver smoky eye? I think it's something that can add to your collection. For me personally, the shimmers, especially in the Bronze Bliss, which is sort of weird now that I'm thinking about it. Is this bronze? No, I don't find this to be bronze, but I will say, you know, a couple of these shades, like these two shades are bronze, I guess, but this leans more like smoky to me. So these are cute little palettes that will complement my collection. I would reach for these when I want a really beautiful foiled shade for my lid. That's how I see these. I think they're cute. They are pricey, but with Auntie Pat, you know that you're spending the money. So, you know, is it worth 36 bucks? I mean, you have to make that decision for yourself, but I think you're really gonna buy these, honestly, for the shimmer shades, which are really pretty. Moving on to the Charlotte Tilbury face palettes. So first of all, packaging is gorgeous. For that price tag, I expect the packaging to be beautiful. I do like that she did come out with 2 different options, although I would have liked to see 3. I really want companies to follow what Hourglass did this year. I think Hourglass really released a good range of 3 different options this year. They could have gone even deeper, but I feel like it's a step in the right direction. And I think because they did that, it was a smash hit. I mean, those things were selling like hotcakes. People were really excited because there was options. There was different, you know, covers for the palettes. There was different colors. And I just think a lot of brands keep it really in that safe zone. I actually really like the embossing that looks almost like satin pillowy and then the logo here. I think it's beautiful and I do prefer a baked gelée formula, especially for highlighters, but I also really like it for blush. My complaint about these is that I just don't know if they're different enough to tell you to go spend $75 times 2, okay? So I feel like you really should hone in and decide what colors are gonna work for you, and I think you should focus more so on the blushes because that's where I see the value in these palettes. So I can actually use the deeper palette all over. I feel like you could use these shades as blush toppers. They're not crazy intense, so they can kind of go on the cheeks and they don't enhance your texture as much as you may think, but you're really gonna get the warm, just burnt look with the deeper palette. And then with the lighter palette, it's just more of a soft, neutral pink. I think this is also a formula that you do have to kind of dig your brush in. You wanna use a dense brush to really get in there to pick up the product. This is not gonna be something that you dip in once and it's super pigmented. So you do have to build it up and you have to have the patience to build it up. But it could be a good option for beginners. But then I think about the price and I'm like, well, I don't know. When I say beginners, I just mean someone that likes a very soft blush or someone that really just feels like every time they put blush on, they end up looking really overdone, almost like a clown, and it makes them feel like they can't wear blush. This would be a formula to try. So overall, I think every product today is sort of in that category of good. I like it. It's pretty. Am I regretting purchasing these products? No, because this is my job and I will continue to use them. And I kind of have a feeling that once I keep playing with these products in the way that I would wear them every day, meaning not pairing, you know, pink blush with this and that, and not trying to use 4 metallics, etc., etc. So you guys will have to let me know what you think down below. I did struggle today. You know, my brows weren't cooperating, my eyeshadow wasn't cooperating, my hair wasn't cooperating. So it could be that too, you know, when you have those days that you're just like, nothing's going right for me. But overall, I feel like I did end up with some pretty eye looks and I feel like my cheeks do look nice and flushed. So let me know your thoughts down below on these products if you pick them up. Of course, I will link all of these products down below as well as all of the other makeup that I'm wearing. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, I hope you stick around and subscribe. I do a ton of makeup content, so hopefully you will enjoy my videos. As always, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch my videos, so thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one.